Hey guys, it's Marty from owingsart.com, and today we're going to take a look at these J. Herbin specialty inks, and I'm going to try them in a few different ways, and we'll check that out. But these are specialty inks made in France. Here's the various colors that I'll try today. Now there's a full line of different colors. We're not going to try them all. This is just strictly a sampling. I won't try to pronounce all the French names, but instead try to describe these in my sort of Midwestern plain old American accent. But stick around to the end, because I'm also going to introduce you to a fantastic artist that I think you're going to enjoy. Now I'm going to test these inks with various different types of pens and nibs and a water brush and a straight brush. But I'm not going to try to demo them with a fountain pen, because there are just tons of fountain pen experts out there that have already tested these in fountain pens, so you can go and check out those videos if you're particularly interested in how these work in a fountain pen. But as I understand, they flow pretty well. I did watch a number of those reviews, and they mostly got favorable marks. But today I wanted to kind of take a different angle at this, and I'm going to use this Stillman & Birn sketchbook that I have here, which is from the Delta series. It's very, very nice toned paper. I wanted to take an angle of a sketcher, or sort of a watercolorist angle at these inks, because a friend of mine named James Nutt, who's an architect, and I think I've done a sketchbook tour of his on my channel before, he kind of gave me the tip to try these out, and so I just kind of want to come at them differently, not from the just strictly a writer's standpoint or a pen user, but as a guy who likes to watercolor and sketch. Now, when you get these jars, make sure you shake them up, because there's a golden flake in them that gives them a special shine, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But that will settle to the bottom of the ink well, so you'll have to shake it up, give it a good shake. Now here I'm just trying a standard nib pen, a dip pen, and with a medium nib on it. Now that's the emerald color there, and it's very, very nice. And I wanted to try this brown color, because I saw somebody using this brown color in some of their watercolor sketches or ink sketches, and I thought it was really nice, some of the effects they were able to get with it. And there's a color range in each of these inks. Like, it's not just emerald green. If you spread it out, and you kind of do a chromatic view of the paint, there's reds in it, there's blues, even in the, you can see the reds, and there's even a yellow in that brown, and so it's got like a dynamic range of color. And then it's also got this reflection, or you know, this shine that you can get from the gold flake that's in the ink. And those are just the two specialty inks there. The third one we'll take a look at is J. Herbin's, I guess what you would call it, their standard ink, or you know, just kind of a noodler's, or not a noodler's, but a pen, a standard fountain pen ink. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Now you will see I'm wearing a rubber glove in here, just a simple glove, because if this ink gets on you and it sits on you for a while, you're going to have to scrub to get it off of your skin, and it will stain clothing, so be mindful of that. But it is non-toxic, and it's supposed to be pretty light fast, so we'll see about that. I'll have to put them to the test over time, but I just wanted to try them out with various nibs on these dip pens. So I used a fine, a medium, and a wide, just to see how well they would do on that. And I have to say, the experience writing with the dip pen is really nice. I mean, the ink, you know, I'm not an ink expert, but it seemed to flow nicely, and I was able, as long as I kept dipping the pen in, was able to write very nicely with these. And I had to at one point swap out a nib because the other one was bent, but once I just got the hang of it and the nib right, the ink flows nicely. And you know, I know that people who use ink in pens, they're very particular about the flow, whether the flow is lean or heavy or watery, I guess, would be one way to describe it. And but I'm not so particular about that because I'm just using these to more or less sketch or paint. And the writing is just kind of secondary for me here. These are, you can use these in a water brush as I showed, just keep the tip clean. They work in fountain pens and that's what they're made for. A dip pen or a standard brush. There's like no rules. You want to use a standard brush, that's fine. They're made from natural dyes. They are water-based. They're not going to be waterproof for you, so just be mindful of that. Now here you can see, again, I'm going to try to do some writing, but the other thing I like about these is that it's a non-toxic ink, and this nib was the one that was giving me actually some trouble. But it's a non-toxic ink, it's pH balanced, and it's supposed to be pretty light fast. Now, I have to, put that to the test over time, but it would be nice if that were true, and hopefully it is. I find the French do make pretty quality art products. I mean, generally speaking, I use their papers, I use their watercolors. Sennelier is a brand I can recommend and use in watercolors. And their papers, of course, Arches and other brands have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, as has the manufacture of these particular inks. So here you can see I'm just using a straight, like I just use a watercolor brush. And as long as you dip it in water and keep it clean when you're done, you shouldn't have any problem. I was able to rinse all of the ink out of the bristles, and no bad effects or anything like that. And the same goes for the water pens I was using, the Aquash, the Pentel Aquash pen. Yep, so no problems at all there. So just, trying out writing in this nice Stillman and Byrne sketchbook. It was fun. I'm not the greatest cursive writer, or I don't practice calligraphy very often, but I would like to learn how to do that better. I really enjoy the people who can do it well, and I'm always fascinated by the technique. There's so much, I'd say, artistic expertise in that. And anyway, this ink here is called Blue Night. And this is, it just flows out kind of like watercolor. And and there's a big warning label on the side of the ink saying never mix two different inks or whatever. But I kind of like to throw rules out the door and just try different things. So, and these look different going on wet than they do dry. I just want to compare the inks side by side. So I'm just kind of drawing these, or painting these swatches out. I really love the bold color of that emerald, and the red color that that James let me try when we were out sketching one day is really, really a nice red. And there's just so many colors in the single color. It's pretty amazing. So I'm just sitting here letting these dry out a little bit. So here I wish you could sort of see the color in the light the way I can when it's live in person. It's hard, I think, for the camera to catch it unless I had like some kind of more direct light on this. But yeah, you can see all of the different colors in the single color and that gold reflection in the paint, and it's pretty neat. It adds just a completely different effect to the paint or the work that you're doing. It's just I think it's pretty cool, and I'm gonna have to try these more in my own work. J. Herbin, 1670. And I saw this person using this in like a really heavy, wide fountain pen, and they were doing some really nice work with it. Okay, so here's how my trouble started trying to fill this Pentel Aquash. Now I had some success filling the brown ink, and of course I didn't film that, but I had no problem with it at all. I was able to create a funnel out of a little bit of tin foil and pour the ink in, and just had no struggles at all. It filled the pen up and there was no spilling, not a drop of ink spilled. Well, I went to repeat the effort, and here's what happened. Oh, first of all, I poured way too fast, and then the ink went everywhere. And you can see it stains the heck out of your hands. So I wanted to get the ink off pretty quick, otherwise I'd have these weird green fingers around everywhere. And so there was, and little did I know, there was still just a ton of ink stuck in that little funnel that I made, because I must have pinched it off and it got trapped in there. But anyway, that was my experience. So I recommend maybe using a baby like an ear or an eyedropper to fill the pens. Even though I had good luck on the first one, it was a complete disaster on the second try. I probably wasted a couple of milliliters of ink right there, if not more. But I wish you could see kind of the reflective gold flecks in this paint. It's really cool. It stands out. But and you're gonna have to shake that ink up really well before you stick it in the pen, or before you use the pen, because it'll sit in there. Here's some costs for these various colors. Now, the specialty inks, the 1670 ink is more, but you get more. It's a 50 milliliter container, and the standard ink you can pick up for like 10 bucks. All right, I want to take a look at today's feature artist. His name is Stuart Lockridge. And Stuart happens to be a friend of mine, and I was at the St. Paul Art Crawl this past weekend and was able to buy a few pieces of his art from him, namely his Intaglio Etchings. He does some really outstanding etchings. Now, this is an ink drawing that he did, and Stuart's got a whole process he follows, and I talked a little bit about this on when I was on the Art Posse podcast the other day. But basically, Stuart follows the process that some of the old masters followed, and that's actually a self-portrait of Stuart. But and this is one of his etchings. So he goes out, he does maybe a sketch or a pencil drawing, maybe a watercolor study, and then he'll create this etching, these beautiful etchings here. And then he may create some, if he wants to do an oil painting or a landscape like this, he will do, again, like a watercolor study, and then maybe an oil study of it, and then he'll then work on his final piece. And each time along the way, he's correcting mistakes and modifying it so that he's creating exactly the right composition. Now here, that's a beautiful winter scene that Stuart's painted in oil. And he does great portrait work as well. Here are several examples of his portraiture. And I believe these are in oil, although he does some really good watercolor portraits as well. And they're just really excellent. That's a commission piece that he did. Yeah, and here's his collection of watercolors. So go to his website. Hopefully you're already intrigued just by seeing some of his work here, but take a look at his work and check him out and send him a note. I know he'd love to hear from anybody who was checking out his art. He's actually what I would consider a very, I'd probably say he's in the early master phase of his career. In other words, he's mastered the process. He's mastered many of the media in terms of what he wants to get out of it. And, you know, he's still a pretty young guy, so he's got years and years and years left to create and build more incredible art. But I think he just does fantastic. I mean, look at this still life of these pumpkins. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievably talented artist. And Stuart's a good friend. Not only does he do all of these oil paintings and etchings and great watercolors, he also builds and makes his own frames. So like I'll bring him some antique frames or whatever I find in the secondhand store or in an old barn, and he will restore those frames, and you know, he can add gold leaf or do whatever you know, kind of accents he wants to the frames, and you can you know, buy his frames just on their own, and they're valuable. But it's just he's just a full-on, you know, 100% committed artist who every day practices his craft. So I love Stuart's work, and he's just a great guy to hang out with. So go check out his artwork if you get a chance. I think you'll really enjoy it. You can send him a note. There's his email account. And if you haven't done so yet, please go check out owingsart.com. That's my blog. You'll get to the website. Just scroll down a little on the page right there, and you'll see a bunch of happy faces there. Just zoom in and click the blue follow button. It will say follow if you haven't followed the blog yet. Please do so, and then every once in a while you'll just get a note that says I've posted an art supply review or some kind of musing about art, life in general, things like that. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe, comment, and share this video. I'd love to hear from you guys. So if you have experiences with these inks or similar inks, I'd love to hear from you. This has been Marty for owingsart.com. So long, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey guys, don't forget to check out owingsart.com.